There are days when life feels empty. You wake up and wonder what the point is. The tasks blur together. The hours stretch without shape. You may keep moving, but inside you feel stuck. This quiet heaviness can be hard to admit, because people expect you to keep going, to stay positive, to always have direction, yet you feel lost in the drift. This sense of pointlessness can come suddenly, or it can grow slowly, unnoticed, till one day you realize you no longer care. The things that used to excite you feel flat. The goals you chase now seem hollow. Even your own reflection feels distant. You may tell yourself you're ungrateful. You may compare yourself to others. You may think you're broken for feeling this way, but you are not broken. Pointlessness is part of being human. It appears when life shifts, when losses come, when routines drain, when dreams collapse, or when exhaustion numbs you. It is not a flaw to feel this way. It is a signal. A quiet reminder that something in you is asking for care. It's asking for presence. It's asking for gentleness. Often we treat meaning as a mountain to climb. We think it must be grand, a mission, a purpose that makes everything clear. But this belief weighs us down. It makes everyday life feel small. It makes ordinary moments seem worthless. And yet most of life is ordinary. Most of life is unremarkable days. If meaning exists only in rare peaks, then most of life becomes meaningless. That is why you feel so heavy. You're waiting for something extraordinary. The quiet meaning sits right beside you. This is not to say your pain is wrong. Your pain is real. Your ache is valid, and naming it matters. Saying life feels pointless is not weakness. It is honesty. And honesty is the beginning of gentleness. When you stop fighting your feelings, you start to soften. You start to breathe more freely. You start to see small openings. It may not happen fast, but naming the emptiness creates space. In that space, you can notice again. Notice the light through a window. Notice the warmth of tea in your hands. Notice the sound of rain on the roof. None of these will erase your pain, but they remind you that life still touches you, that you are still here, feeling. And that feeling is proof you are alive. Meaning is not built in one grand act. It is gathered in small fragments. One breath. One glance of kindness, but when you are weighed down by pointlessness, these fragments are easy to miss. You overlook them because you expect more. You dismiss them because they feel too small. Yet the small is where meaning lives. To sense this, you must slow down. You must give yourself permission to pause. Even if the world tells you to hurry. Even if your mind insists you're wasting time. Stillness reveals what rushing hides. Stillness, you notice the quiet threads of life. It's threads that connect you to the present. Threads that keep you from unraveling. They do not shout, they whisper. And you can only hear them when you stop. When you let go of forcing meaning, you begin to see it forming itself. Not as something you must create, but as something you allow yourself to witness. A bird landing on a fence, a stranger holding the door, your own breath rising and falling. Meaning is not absent, but is subtle. It waits for you to notice. Our life may still feel pointless sometimes. That is human. But even in the ache, something gentle exists. The ordinary holds you. And in naming your pointlessness, you are already closer to meaning. This is where the journey begins. After naming your emptiness, the question remains, how do you live with it? The temptation is to escape, to fill the silence with noise, to drown the ache in busyness. But escape leaves you emptier. The first step is gentleness, not forcing the emptiness away, not judging yourself for feeling lost, but meeting yourself as you are. Imagine offering yourself the same kindness you would give a hurting friend. You would not demand their quick recovery. You would sit with them quietly. You would stay present. This is what your own heart asks for: presence, patience, softness. In practice, this means small pauses. Pauses where you breathe without rushing. Pauses where you notice what is here. Maybe it is the way morning light spreads across the floor. Maybe it is the way your body exhales after holding too much. Maybe it is the small sound of birds outside. Each pause is a thread that ties you to the present moment. Over time, these threads create quiet stability. They remind you that life continues even when you feel hollow. The second step is honesty. Instead of pretending to feel fine, admit your heaviness. Whisper it if you must. Write it in a notebook. Say it aloud when no one is listening. Honesty softens the burden. Because what is named can be carried. What is hidden weighs twice as much. Honesty also makes space for connection. Sometimes someone else is waiting for permission to admit their own emptiness. Your honesty gives them courage, and in that shared truth, meaning quietly appears. Not as a grand answer, but as shared humanity. The third step is noticing the ordinary. Life is filled with overlooked gestures. A neighbor's smile, the smell of fresh laundry, the softness of clean sheets, the simple taste of bread. These are not trivial. They are anchors. Anchors that remind you of your belonging to life. When everything feels pointless, anchors keep you from drifting too far. They bring you back, even for a moment.
Wow.
Living with emptiness also means slowing expectations. You may want clarity right away. You may demand that meaning reveal itself quickly. But life rarely answers in speed. It whispers over time, so allow yourself to move slowly. To take small steps. To measure days not by achievements, but by breaths. Each breath is proof you are still here. Stillness is fertile ground for quiet meaning. Another way to live with emptiness is to create small rituals. Rituals give shape to formless days. They turn routine into gentle ceremony. Drinking tea slowly in the morning, lighting a candle at night, writing 3 sentences before bed, taking a short walk without your phone. These simple rituals remind you that life need not be grand to be meaningful. They make the ordinary sacred. They show you that care is possible even in heaviness, and care is meaning in motion. Living with emptiness also calls for rest. Exhaustion often deepens the sense of pointlessness. Your body whispers for rest while your mind demands more. Listening to your body is a quiet act of trust. Rest is not giving up. Rest is how you return. It allows space for renewal, and in renewal, small joys reappear. Another practice is gratitude, but gently, not as forced positivity, not as a demand to erase your pain, but as a soft noticing of what still holds you. Gratitude in emptiness sounds like, I feel lost, and still the sun warms my skin. Or, I feel heavy, and still my friend texted me today. Gratitude is not denial. Gratitude is companionship with your grief. Both can exist together. Both tell the truth of being human. To live with emptiness also means allowing mystery. Not every ache has a reason you will understand. Not every season of life has a clear lesson, and that is okay. Mystery is part of meaning too. It humbles you. It teaches you to listen rather than demand. It reminds you that life is bigger than your current despair. And within that mystery, the seeds of quiet meaning are already growing. When you begin noticing the ordinary, something shifts. The emptiness no longer feels like an enemy. It becomes part of the texture of being alive. From here, hope begins to breathe again. Not a loud or flashy hope, but a quiet one, steady and gentle. It lives in small, repeated acts, in the way you show up even when heavy, in the way you keep choosing to look around. This is where a new relationship with life begins. It's not built on answers, but on presence. And presence itself becomes meaning. When you step outside and feel wind on your face, that is meaning. When you hear someone laugh, that is meaning. When you taste fruit on your tongue, that is meaning. These things are not trivial. They are reminders of aliveness. Aliveness is enough. Over time, ordinary moments stack quietly: a cup of tea, smile from a stranger, a page in a book. Together, they create a quiet architecture of hope. You begin to see that meaning does not need to be grand. It can be found in small pieces of care. In the way you water a plant, in the way you pause to rest, in the way you listen to your own breath. Each act tells you, life matters, even now. A new relationship with life grows in slowness. Do not rush toward joy. You allow it to return gently. Some days it arrives in the form of peace. Other days it arrives as a moment of laughter. You learn to hold both as gifts. You no longer wait for life to feel extraordinary. You begin to honor it as ordinary. This honoring is itself extraordinary. Meaning appears in the way you let yourself belong to each day. Belonging to the morning light. Belonging to the sounds of traffic. Belonging to your own quiet company. You realize belonging is not something to earn. It is given freely, simply by existing, and when you accept that, life softens. The pressure to prove yourself fades. The need to justify your existence weakens. You start living instead of performing. This shift does not erase emptiness entirely. It does not erase grief. But it teaches you that both can live alongside joy. You can feel sadness and still smile at the sunset. You can feel hollow and still savor a meal. You can feel lost and still find warmth in another's presence. Life is wide enough to hold all of this. A new relationship with life also means learning to trust time, trusting that meaning deepens slowly, trusting that even in dark seasons, life is still moving, like seeds beneath the soil, unseen but alive. Hope becomes less about outcomes, more about patience with unfolding. You stop demanding life to prove itself. You start allowing it to reveal itself. This trust is fragile at first, but with each small act of noticing, it grows steadier. You begin to carry yourself differently, less weighed down by questions of why, more open to moments of here. And here is where life has always waited for you. Another part of this relationship is gentleness toward yourself. You release the belief that you must be strong all the time. You let yourself cry without shame. You let yourself rest without guilt. You let yourself need without apology. This is how meaning grows in tenderness toward your own being. Over time, you start to notice connection again, with people who understand, with those who sit with you in silence, with those who share their own quiet struggles. Connection reminds you that emptiness is not only yours, it is part of being human. And being human together creates meaning. You feel less alone. And in that togetherness, hope feels real. This hope does not erase struggle. It does not erase uncertainty. But it gives you strength to keep walking, to keep choosing small acts of life, to keep saying yes, even when it feels fragile. Over time, you look back and realize you have been living meaning all along. Not by finding the perfect purpose, but by staying present to the small, ordinary gifts. You have built a quiet life of depth, a life of stillness and care. A life where emptiness no longer swallows you, but walks beside you as a teacher. Teaching you that meaning is never lost. Teaching you that even when life feels pointless, the ordinary keeps you rooted in quiet hope. This is quiet philosophy, where thinking isn't loud, and life doesn't need to be either. Subscribe if you haven't already, not for noise, but for something you can actually feel.